Hello. Checking quickly. We're working here that we're actually live on YouTube. We are. Okay, we're good. Welcome to AI Show and Tell, and welcome back if you're tuning in again. I have a few fun things to show you today. Most importantly, how I'm actually using Claude as a team member and Claude agents as a team member and able to assign Claude tasks from my project management tool, which currently is Notion, rather than having to work in Claude. So even though I've automated a ton of things and I'm working with Claude every single day, and I can be in Claude many days, I don't have to go in for a lot of the day-to-day. So while you might be used to going to open Claude, open ChatGPT, open whatever platform you're using and collaborate with it that way, I've actually set it up so that my agents are able to action wherever I am working. And I don't need to go into every session. I don't need to keep track of what is happening in conversations or in sessions. It's all actually in my project management tool, just like it would be if I were working with a human team member. So today we're going to show you that specific process. First, starting with a reminder on what agents are versus skills, because this is a really important distinction to make, especially if you're using Claude AI. Next, how I actually do the process of assigning the work to Claude from my project management tools. A reasoning why I didn't build custom software for this specifically, because I know that custom CRMs are all of the rage right now. And I think that it is not necessarily the best use case for a lot of business owners. And then at the end, I have a link for you if you want to take a system diagnostic, which will help you figure out what you should automate first, where in your business needs the most work, so that you can get started building agentic solutions like this as well. So again, if you are tuning in fresh, hi, welcome. And if you are coming back, then thanks for joining me. A quick recap of the levels of AI integration, just so that we're all at the same speed. So a lot of people might be aware of level 1. So this is where you are comfortable talking with Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, whatever platform you're using. You talk to your AI, but you're doing things manually. So it is giving you outputs in the conversations. You have to remember what conversation had what output, what it produced for you, where that was, and you're chatting with it more collaboratively. This is where you hear people saying things like, I use Claude as a sparring partner. I use ChatGPT to help me brainstorm. That is level 1 AI integration. That is where most people start. We want to get you, though. My job is to get clients up to level 2 and level 3. So this is where level 2 AI is embedded into your automations. Maybe you're using something like Zapier. Maybe you still have to babysit Claude Cowork. Maybe at least you are using Claude Cowork, but it's still that collaborative. You are there, you are online, you are working with it. Level 3 is how my business is running most of the time. And that is my agentic team is triggering based on conditions that I have set. It is proactive, it is reactive, it completes work for you, and you can delegate to it, and it runs autonomously. So that is why I'm showing you today how I actually delegate to Claude without even going into Claude, and how I'm getting Claude to also delegate to itself based on my context sources. So if you are new here, hey, I am Jo Wise. I lead and build growth strategy that includes AI systems so that we can work smarter, they don't suck, and that includes a broader body of work that is in the realm of brand strategy, direction, growth, marketing, distribution, growth strategy, automated sales funnels, and then agentic support throughout all of it, all with understanding of whatever we are automating with AI, we are not breaking the funnel and we are not breaking that client experience. That's why it doesn't suck, because we pay attention to those things. So first, we need to know WTF are agents versus skills, because you have probably seen a lot of people talking online about how they have agents working for them. I talk about this often. And then you might have also seen people selling skills, especially Claude skills are all the rage right now. Skills are not agents. I need you to know that skills are not agents. If someone is selling you a skill pack, a skill file as an agent, that's not true. It's just not what it is. An agent can work independently to produce an output. They trigger when conditions are met, and they use their skills to complete work in your workspaces. Skills, on the other hand, are the specializations that your agents have access to. So these can include workflows, preferences, parameters, style guides, examples. They are like all of the different expertise workflow that they might have. And one agent can have access to multiple skills. I have many agents in my business that have access to all of the skills in my skill file library, but it doesn't kind of go both ways. It's like your agent can have skills. It's like humans can have skills. Humans can have specializations. We can take courses. We can get degrees and diplomas, certifications. Agents can kind of do the same thing with their skills. It's the same idea. So if anyone is selling you a skill as an agent, tell them no. Now you know better. This is the difference. And this is the foundation of what all of your agents are built on, which kind of leads to the next point here, which we're going a little bit faster today because I'm at the end of my day and I have a few things to do before we wrap up. So I'm not going to get too much into this. If you want to know more about my 5-layer framework, check out the previous lives. This one is basically how we build any kind of agentic system using Claude and the systems that you are already operating on. First, we need to have the context. Let's see if my pen is going to work today so I can draw on here for you quickly. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't because we love technology. So context is your brain. This is your brain. That is important because everyone on your team and all of your agents can plug into that shared source of truth. That's why we need a brain. When you have a brain and it is accurate, then your agents will be able to produce better work. So we start with the brain, then we can make agents. We nail down what they are producing because they have access to the context. Then we can communicate with our agents and our agents can talk to each other when we have a communication layer so that everyone is aware of what work is being done, how, when they have that context. Your communication and your production continues to feed the brain. It all works together. When we have every single thing documented throughout this process, then it can get smarter over time. So maybe your system starts at 50% at first, and then it can go up to 60 and even 80 to 90% accurate because we have self-improvement and human improvement and evaluations, self-learning loops, all of those kind of things fall under improvement. But all of that needs to get documented in the brain first. Without the brain, nothing I'm about to show you will really work. So that's why we start there. Like I said, this was like a quick speed overview. If you want to know more about this framework, check out the previous AI show and tells. And next, let's get into what we really came here for, which is how I assign tasks to Claude and how it also assigns tasks to itself. So this is something from this week. I just wrapped up the most recent Leverage Lab cohort launch. And at the end of that, I had wanted to make sure that, like, after every single launch, we were doing a proper debrief. I need to know what worked, what didn't work. If you are in the marketing world, online business, business in general, you want to know what's working and what's not working so that we can make good decisions. Good decisions come from good data. So I had my Claude go in to get all of that data. Now, the cool thing is when you look here, let's try to zoom in a little bit here. Let's see how that looks on the live screen. Okay, it's kind of close. So this is my project tracker in Notion. When you have this set up properly, the statuses are really what are doing a lot of the work. So you can see it says the owner is Claude right here. It also says the source is Claude himself, itself. I don't know. I like to call it Claudie boy, Claudie. I don't know. Claude saw this task was available or was mentioned in my daily briefing. So nearing the end of the launch, I had made a note in my daily briefing, which if you aren't aware of that, there's previous videos on that as well. I had made a note saying, hey, Claude, when we're done this launch, I want to do a full debrief. I want you to go through all of the numbers, all of these spots. Make sure you make a task in our project tracker and assign it to yourself so that you can go and do this without me. You'll see it made all of this. And if you scroll down, this is quite a large task. It had put all of those parameters in. Every single instruction was in here. I could approve that it was good to go, and it just added it into the project tracker. it put a proper date in up here so that it knew, and it even put a note to hold because I have agents that are scanning my boards, my Kanban boards for project work, internal work, all that kind of thing. Anything that is assigned to Claude, it is scanning that every single day, multiple times a day. So if it saw something was assigned to Claude and it did not have this note to wait, it might action on it sooner, even if the due date wasn't quite there yet, because our silly little robots are fairly eager. I wanted to have that extra parameter in, and Claude knows that I want to have these extra parameters in, so it tells itself to hold, and it puts even this secondary reminder, do not action on this before this date. And the reason was because I wanted the launch to be fully closed, and all of the final numbers to be in after the date. Even though the cart closed last Friday, I still wanted it to be on Tuesday this week that it did the debrief for me. Now, the cool thing about this is that this doesn't exist really in a session in Claude in the way that you are probably used to it existing. So if you are using level 1 AI integration here, then you are used to going into Claude and saying, hey, I want to do a launch debrief. I want to know this, this, and that. Mine, because of how it's set up, I don't need to do this. It has the context of how I like to debrief already. It has the things that I look for. It already has my analyst skills and my marketing skills and all of those things built in so that it can rely on that existing context in my brain to come up with, first of all, what this task parameters, conditions, and to-dos should be, and then it can action on them in the way that I would want it to, which is why we need this brain first. If I did not have all of these details documented in this brain, this task itself would not be as detailed, and the output would not be great either. Because it's set up this way, Claude can pick up, my task puller can pick this up. It saw, hey, this is going to be a big one. So rather than us actioning on this during the day, during potentially high usage hours where it costs a little bit more to run, we're going to push this to the evening. So this one became part of my overnight sweep. In the overnight sweep, I have an agent that is running every evening, and it's doing the big work so that it can be more efficient. We can be conservative with what we are using and just kind of pace all of that out so that it's just overall it's a better idea. We don't want to waste things when we don't need to. This doesn't need to happen during the day, so it didn't. I like starting my day fresh with things done by the robots for me, even though they were working overnight. So when we have it set up this way, then the output is actually not even really in Claude. It might give me a summary in that session in Claude Code of what it has done. So say there was a few tasks that it needed to do this day, it would say, oh, I found a couple tasks to do, and I'm going to start working on this. So you can see that transparency from the robots in the session if you go into it, but I don't need to go into that conversation, that session, to get what I need in terms of the output. The output actually lives directly in this task. If I were to scroll down, unfortunately, I can't show you my actual project tracker because there's some obviously confidential information in there, but the screenshot, if I were to scroll down, there's a child page linked there that has the entire brief that I wanted. It was able to go into my email marketing. I use Kit for my email marketing. It has a direct connector with Claude. That's why I like using it. If you want to know more about Kit, that is linked down below, along with all of the other tech tools that I'm recommending. So it can go into Kit, see how all of my recent broadcasts performed. It can look at the tag segments. It could track enrollments. It can track people who are clicking to the sales page. It has all of that information just like I do or would as a marketer, and it can bring that into my debrief. I've also built MCP connections with Google Analytics so that it can see who is clicking to my sales page. It was able to do the math for me. It told me what my sales page converted at. It knew exactly who bought what. It was able to give me a total revenue. It could see my sales pipeline, so it could see who was maybe warm and actually purchased, who was warm but didn't purchase. I already have a list of people that I can reach out to for early bird for the next enrollment period. So all of this is in my debrief, and the Claude session itself is just a simple summary that it did the task and what it used to do that task for that transparency if I want to go see it. But I actually don't even know if I went into this session at all because I don't need to. Everything I need is in my Notion itself. Now, this is important because when I am talking to clients, We literally just had our lab kickoff call today. And one of the things that came up was task switching. Task switching, if you have to do it, really sucks. We get distracted. It takes a few minutes to go between one to the other. It's what happens when we are living in reactive mode all day. We don't want to live in reactionary modes. Instead, we want to make it so that you are doing your focused work first, where you work. So that is why I've built this process so that when I wake up in the mornings, I only need to go into where I'm actually doing the work, which is in Notion for me, because that's where my projects are. I can see on my daily briefing, hey, Claude did this overnight. I can go check it out. It links this task directly. I can see what it generated for me, what that debrief was. And then from that debrief, I was able to start drafting an email that I wanted to send to my list. With my rough notes from that email draft, it was able to put it actually into my content calendar. And from that content calendar, it came up with the proper full draft, not just my rough notes. It ran it through my Skeptical Sally, my buyer psych trained editor. And it also ran it through my buying panel. So I built a simulator, a panel of simulators. So it like names specific people that represent different buyer types. And it just came up with random names. And it tells me, it ranks how they would respond to the copy for me. So that's all in here. All of this is happening because of this main debrief. From here, again, I can assign a task to Claude because of the status change. So if we scroll in, we can see, oops, we don't want to edit that. If we scroll in, we can see that the status change is right here. When an email is marked as pending review, that means that an agent drafted it. It either drafted from previous content, from approved outlines, from projects I'm doing, from my brain dumps, my general outlines. In this case, it was a general outline because I read the debrief and I was like, hey, these are some good things we could talk about. Here's what I want the email to say. Here's some ideas that I have. It drafted it for me. When I have approved it, I change the status to approve. So I edit and approve. Remember that I have still not gone into a single platform other than Notion, which is why this task switching is so important. If we zoom back out, I don't have to go into no emails, no Slack, no getting lost in analytics. It's all right here where I need it to be. Obviously, if I need to check something, if something doesn't seem quite right, then I will go into these platforms. But for the most part, on a typical day, I don't need to jump around between platform to platform to get all of the information that I need. So when we are signing it this way, you're able to do that. When it is marked as approved, depending on what type of content it is, because you'll see there's a platform status here. If it is, for example, an email, then it could say that it's approved and it knows I have an agent scanning for anything that's approved and it knows what the next step is. If it's an email, it's going to schedule it for me. If it is a carousel post for Instagram, it's going to generate that for me directly in Canva, not in Claude Design, and tell me that the design is ready here in Canva. Now, the reason why, again, I like having the connectivity between my apps so that I don't have to come up with these weird hacks and workarounds and have a bunch of different subscriptions and all of that, is that I don't need to go to another platform to generate the design. I know there's tons of platforms that can generate carousels for you, and like Claude Design, everyone's hyping about that. But I prefer to keep the workflows that I already have and have already been working for me for years, and instead integrate Claude into them directly. So in this case of content, it can create those in Canva for me and then tell me that the design is ready. So when it's done, it changes to that. When I see that there's design ready, or even better, when my orchestrator briefing agent sees that the design is ready or an email is scheduled, it will say in Kit right here. That's emails. then these are flagged on my morning briefing by my orchestrator so that I know I need to go, okay, check this most recent email in Kit. All looks good to go. I can just schedule that, and I don't even have to mark it as scheduled. It can see that it's in Kit. It will check for me and mark it as scheduled. It will also check and see if it has posted. Or I can see from my orchestrator agent that a design is ready. It'll be in my morning dashboard, and I can go grab that design, grab the caption from here, and just go ahead and post it on Instagram. That's all I have to do. And I know that there are even fewer steps that I could do, but these are the ones that I want to keep on to myself as well. So here's an idea of what that briefing looks like. I can't show you everything. I'll just like in my Notion directly because of the sensitive information, but I can show you just different screenshots of it. So this is a case where last week it knew that there were certain pieces of content that still needed to go out. It estimated how long things would take me. It knows how many working hours I actually have in this day. So this was the cap of hours I had on the day that it had put this on my morning brief. And this is all I had to do. I just check these off that it's done. At the end of the day, my Claude can see that these are done, and it goes ahead and it updates the original project tracker. I can also update these as well. So when I am done reviewing the debrief, I can change that over to completed. If it were a client-facing task where maybe Claude needed to send something, I would be able to click ready to send. Another agent is scanning for those ready to sends, and it will send it to the appropriate place, whether that's over email or Slack or whatever the case is. This is how you build the system. So you are assigning Claude directly rather than having to build out, for example, custom CRMs. Now, that leads to the question of why would I do it this way instead of using a custom CRM? Because a lot of people have custom CRMs. They're a great solution, but I don't think so for a lot of businesses because it becomes, this page needs to populate, it becomes another thing to do. Custom CRMs. Another thing to do, because if you've tried building something like this in Claude, you might have found that it looks cool and the data looks like it's there, but it's really not actually connected behind the scenes because you need to have some wiring done on the back end in order to truly connect the pieces. You have to host your new app that you've built because that's really what we're doing. So instead, the simpler solution is to just work where you work. Work where you work. And then this way, it's a lot more effective because you are connecting Claude agents rather than building in a silo. Not building. Ooh, we don't want to do that. In a silo. Which means that overall, your agent native OS is really not that different than if you are just working with human team members. All of your team members can connect into the same places. They can connect into the brain. They can produce. They can see what is everyone else is producing. They can communicate with each other, and they can get better over time. So that's my reasoning here. It also solves the memory problem when you build it like this. It solves so many problems. So let's go back to the beginning here. Agents versus skills, we covered that. How I assign work to Claude, we covered that. It's basically like Claude is scanning the Kanbans. Claude agents are scanning the Kanbans, looking for things for them to do because they're my eager robots that are like, hey, I can do that. I can do that. I even have it to the point where my Claude is suggesting more things it can do based on the capabilities that it has from the skills that it has, which is why it kind of all comes back full circle. When it has lots of Claude skills, then it can get smarter. That's where it's maybe like 90%. Or, hey, I can do even more. So I think I covered all of these things in the beginning. If you want to create something like this, we need to, if you want to create something that is this level 2, this is really a level 3 right here, what I've just described for you. Maybe even beyond that. If you want to do something like this, you really need to follow the process of building the brain properly. Now, with all of this, you're probably like, hey, where do I start? That sounds cool, But where do I start if I'm brand new to all of this? I can help you with that. One thing that you can do is go to my website. I'm going to write down the URL here, and it's also linked in the description below. You're going to go to itsjillwise.com/agents. There, you're going to see a video that shows you how my agent operating system works. And below it, there is a link where you can grab a free diagnostic. This is going to give you an exercise that you can do on your own to find the biggest pain points in your business and the places that you should start automating first, because there's so many things you could do. There's so many apps you could get. Just like, where do you even start? It can be overwhelming. Do this exercise first, and that will give you a very clear direction of where to start automating, what you need to do if you really want to use AI to grow, because that's really the whole point here, is that AI helps you grow. We do that either from saving space, time, or obviously dollars, depending on what kind of systems you are setting up, whether that's lead gen and marketing and sales, or if you're dealing with a lot of admin stuff and related things like that. Now, if you really like this, I mentioned that Leverage Lab is the most recent launch has wrapped up. We just kicked off this week with a brand new cohort, and I literally just finished the kickoff call where we were going through all of the things that they're doing this week and our entire roadmap throughout phase 1 of our time together. And the next cohort is going to be in October. So if you want to get into that, then send me a message, go to this website. All of the information is there, and ask me about early bird for that, because we already have people who are wanting to enroll in October. And that's very exciting because we're a few months out. So that group may fill up really quickly, because it is truly me that is helping hold your hand through this entire process. So if you want to learn how to build a business second brain, how to build those foundations that you need, the operating instructions that your agents need, and then build custom agentic systems from there, ones that run without you, this is where we're doing it. This is a actual practical application of all of the things that you see online, how it applies to your specific business. And the way the program is structured is really like a hybrid of asynchronous work through our Slack community. There's a learning dashboard where there's videos and resources, templates, tools. I give you access to my skill file library, which again are not agents, but my skill file library that you can use to train your agents. I give you cheat sheets, so many different things. We also do live sessions. Like I mentioned, there's a kickoff call. We do live diagnostic together. We do show and tells together. We do a lot of live work together, as well as the stuff that you're doing on your own time. We do group Q&A calls. Sometimes there's homework submissions. If you send those over, then you get personalized feedback. And then there's the option to upgrade to VIP if you want a little bit of done-for-you support while I'm helping you build those systems too. But all of this stuff is where we're actually integrating this framework so that you can get from level 1 up to level 2 and level 3 AI integration within your business and start saving you some time, scaling up your sales without adding more hours. So that's what we're doing in the group. So I'm going to wrap up a little quickly here at the end of my day. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments here. I'll check back with them later. And all of the links that I mentioned, all the tools that I mentioned are also linked in the description below. And I'm going to keep doing these most Wednesdays because they seem to be working well. So if you have a request, I am all ears. Otherwise, I will see you next week.